Wow, we're live. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is going to be huge. I've got a really awesome special guest. We were just laughing our butts off for at least a half hour. So much jam-packed information. It's my good buddy, Chris Scott, wedding photographer for a while, and then founder of a bunch of amazing things. We'll talk a little bit about that. But guys, dude, Chris Scott, you're amazing. Thanks for being here. What's up?
I appreciate you having me, man. It's always fun getting to talk to you.
Um, Before we dive into everything, guys, today I'm going to give Chris like the rundown of the big three questions when he was running his wedding portrait business. But the reason why I had to have him on the show is you guys know he runs Swift Galleries and the printmaker system. So he's got this amazing macro level view of what's selling, what's working, like what he's going to tell us the number one product. If you guys are watching live, comment down below. What do you think the number one print, like wall art product is selling in the United States right now? And if you want to get crazy, how much do you think it's selling for? What's the average price that photographers are selling it for? We're going to dig into some amazing, cool numbers like that. And then we'll wrap it up with really the proven tactics that both Chris and I are seeing photographers use to get results like this, to get really to be making a healthy living and surviving as a photographer. More than surviving, right? We want to be thriving, like growing healthy
Oh,
businesses.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
let me play the intro and we'll get started. How fun is that? You don't get to hear the dance music when it goes, do you?
Yeah, it is really unfortunate I didn't get to hear the music.
Okay.
It's probably good though, because I'd still be dancing over here.
Yep.
So
All right. So let's go rapid fire. Let me make sure everything's loading right on Facebook really quick. I haven't gone live with this computer yet. So why don't you tell us how long you've been in business, how long you were a wedding photographer?
Yep. So my wife Adrienne and I were wedding and portrait photographers. We focused primarily on weddings, and then on the portrait side, we did high school seniors and boudoir. And we did that for 9 years before we founded. We created a product called Preveal. It was an iPad app for showing wall art on the wall. That's where I met you, sir. What was that? That was Launchpad, WPPI Launchpad. We were like right across from each other when you were launching sticky albums. Yeah, sticky albums, I think.
Like
so
6
yeah,
or 7 years ago. Okay,
and
so you were
that since then.
working as a wedding photographer. That's what we're going to run through first. Is just
Yep.
some of the numbers you had. So how long ago was that you were doing really well as a wedding photographer?
Yeah. So we shot our last wedding when we moved to Colorado. Let's see, that was 4 years ago,
Okay.
5 years ago.
All right, so that's what these numbers are about. So how many weddings did you shoot in your best year? What was your
Our best year, we shot 18 weddings.
All right, and then what was your average sale per client?
The last year that we shot weddings, our average package was $9,500.
Average.
Yeah. Almost everybody ended at the same package because of the way that we structured our packages. So it was $9,500 package.
I love it. Okay, so that's just the quick kind of lightning round questions I ask all of our guests just to establish credibility, and we're going to go even deeper now into some of the success you've been helping literally hundreds of other photographers create results like that in their business, and by making it even easier for them to accomplish those kind of results and better with some amazing tools and tactics you've kind of pioneered. So let's go to let's just dig into some of the fun numbers. I've got my fun glasses.
Right? Yeah, you got to put your numbers
glasses. Let's get super nerdy, guys. Put on your nerdy glasses.
Let's do it.
I want to know what the most popular product was or is selling right now. What is it?
Yeah. So I need to be upfront. All of this data is pulled from our our members' actual sales numbers. So there's going to be some bias there because we reach a specific part of the market. But I think that it's still really, really useful data. And to give you guys an idea of like kind of the data set, we're looking at actual orders. So this isn't what people are telling us they're selling. This is us looking at their orders and saying, okay, you're really selling this and you're really selling it at these prices. We're looking at about $1.2 million worth of orders. The average sale is $1,000. It's actually $1,010.
Yeah.
With the max sale being 14,300, which that person's a baller.
That's awesome.
So it's a pretty healthy data set. But I did want to make sure that it was clear that, obviously we reach a very specific portion of the market. So this is true for our people. But the most commonly sold product is Canvas, which is probably not a shocker. And it's a 16 by 20, which is the most common size. And that sells for, on average, $215.77.
I love it.
So it's actually a pretty good price. I was surprised by a lot of this. So if when I looked at our data, we saw that our members are selling canvases the most. Frames are a very close second, and they are coming up fast. So we compared 2016 is when we started allowing people to sell, when we built the functionality to sell frame prints inside Swift galleries. And from 2016 through 2018, the years that we have full data sets, the number of framed prints sold has basically doubled every single year. So that's started awesome. With 141 in 2016 to 606 last year. So it's pretty interesting to see those trends and like, okay, so frames right now are second, but I think by the end of this year we'll be able to say frames are the most popular, and then from there we go metal prints, and then standouts are the ones that we're seeing. And I didn't do the kind of trends for metal, but I'm assuming that you would see the same thing happen there with metal prints, where it's increasing in popularity. I think canvases are decreasing in popularity. Metal prints are increasing. Frame prints are increasing.
I think canvases, people just got their. It became a thing, right? It became a thing to like a norm. Here's what we want. Here's what my friends got. Here's what I got last year. This is what we do. We go hire a photographer.
I think they'll
and we get
always
this great
be popular.
art. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they'll always be popular. They'll always be kind of the go-to thing, but we are seeing them. I think they're going to lose their crown by the end of this year, I think.
Right on.
At least with our users. So it's really interesting though, because I went through and I started looking at like, okay, canvases, what are the most popular sizes? And then comparing that to popular sizes for other type products, and they're not the same. There are different products being sold, different sizes being sold in the various products. So canvases are larger typically. So we're seeing 16 by 20s, 20 by 30s, 16 by 24, 11 by 14, and 12 by 12. Compare that to frames, and you're seeing 8 by 10s, 5 by 7s, 11 by 14s, 8 by 12s, and 10 by 10s. So at first glance, you're like, okay, well, that's probably more like gift type things, a 5 by 7. These were actually pulled out as wall art orders in Swift galleries, though, because we allow you to sell just gift prints as well. So I pulled out just the wall art ones. And what that tells me, though, is that people are building more multi-image galleries with framed prints than they are with canvases. When they sell a canvas, they're probably selling one or two larger canvases, but with frames, they're selling 5 or 6, and they're smaller sizes, but they still make up a larger gallery, which I think is really fascinating.
That's awesome.
And then it's kind of the same thing with metal prints. Metal prints is kind of right between those two, where it straddles kind of what we consider the smaller wall art sizes all the way through, like a 20 by 30 is the third most popular metal print size. So
that's That's
It's
awesome.
fascinating. I'm actually really glad that you asked me to come on and do this because it allowed me to dig into this stuff and be like, oh, this is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
another, sorry,
once you start looking at numbers, it allows you to start managing to it and making smarter business decisions based on what we know is working, what we know is
yep,
validated. We know there's a market for it. I think some of this stuff is good to hear for people who are on the fence considering IPS or considering what products to focus on when selling
yes,
IPS. Um, I think that so often it feels like a lot of our customers don't know that any of this stuff exists, that a lot of the wall art doesn't exist. But when you have numbers like this and when you have heard of how popular it's becoming, it's a really, I think it's empowering the photographers to talk about them from a place of like, oh yeah, this is a thing, instead of
yeah,
an insecurity like, oh, well, it's kind of this new thing. Like, no,
yeah.
there's a huge market for really awesome high quality wall art.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that I think is really interesting about this, and I think is really helpful for photographers, are these the averages, looking at the average cost or the average retail price for these products. Because I know, because we help them every day,
Mm-hmm.
I know that photographers see a price like a 20 by 30. So 20 by 30 canvas, the average price is $327. So I know that there are a lot of photographers who are like, I don't know that I could charge that. And I'm now able
Mm-hmm.
to tell you that's the
That's
average. And
right.
like, you should not feel uncomfortable charging that much for a 20 by 30 canvas. That's the
Mm-hmm.
average. There are people
Yeah.
selling it for higher, there are people selling it for lower. So you
Mm-hmm.
can rest on that kind of knowledge now and say, like, well, I'm going to price myself at the industry average. And again,
Mm-hmm.
we're working from a relatively small sample set compared to the rest of the industry, but I still think that there are strings that can be pulled out of this data that
Totally.
yeah,
All
you
right,
can rest on.
before we go big picture about how to get some of, I think that I love digging into the weeds. In a minute, we're going to go more into just how do you get sales beyond the individual like sizes and products.
Yeah,
But before we get there, what's one more fun takeaway that you found kind of diving deep into the data?
yeah, digitals. I know that
Okay.
that's a common question, is like, okay, should I even sell them? And if I do, like, how much should I charge for them? So I broke it down by the average retail price for selling all of the digitals from a session and the average retail price from selling a single digital file. And so the
Cool.
average um, full session digitals is $1,177, which I think is a pretty decent price. I was surprised by
Hmm.
that. I thought it was going to be
Hmm.
much lower. Um, but we also deal with photographers who are primarily doing in person sales. So they tend to value
Their work.
their work a little bit
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
than a shoot and burner.
Yeah.
And then the average single digital file is $564. So again, really interesting numbers.
Just for one file.
One file, $564.
So that's the perfect example. I have to take these off. If I'm focusing at my camera, I'm getting blurry. It's designed to focus here. Uh, that's showing me that they're doing a really good job of being like, here you can get onesie twosie here, or you can get this package, and you're going to
Yep.
get all this awesome stuff.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, when you compare that, average single digital to is $564, but the average order is $1,000, then you
Hmm.
can tell that that's not what people are selling.
Right.
It
Right.
could be, that they're selling mostly digitals, but I can tell you by looking at the data, they're not. They're selling
Right. Right. Right.
prints.
Right. Okay, so you're reading a cool book. You and I both dig way deep into how how do you help photographers sell more products, sell more
Yeah.
wall art specifically, because there's this time and time again when I have other guests on the show, we talk about how our industry. I think one of the kind of weaknesses of the photography industry, I'll just come out and say it, is we're overwhelmed there's so much to do. There's so many things to do, so many tools to use that we want binary answers. We want like, what's the right way? What's the wrong way? What's the best
Right.
one? What's the worst one? And the same comes true when we're considering in-person sales. And all of this
Yeah.
commentary about like, it's all about in-person sales or it's all about shoot and share, like doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There is a gray here. And what happens, I see time and time again, I'm sure you've seen it more often than me. People will say, okay, fine, I'm going to try in-person sales.
Yep.
They take a course, they do a quick thing, and they take a client who's coming, like I have a client coming in this week, and I'm going to try in-person sales. I'm going to try to sell them some wall art just to see what happens. And they completely fall flat on their face. Their customers are uncomfortable, they're uncomfortable, and then worst of all, they don't try it again, or they don't try it for a long time. They kind of prove it to themselves and to the world that nope, this will never work in my city, doesn't work, right?
Yep.
But instead, there's of course a much safer, real practical way to go about gradually introducing in-person sales into your business, right?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. And I think that you kind of hit it on the head is going awesome, but something doesn't go as planned, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But and then they assume, oh, this just doesn't work. This doesn't work in my market. This doesn't work for my clients, or any of that, and fail to think like maybe I'm missing something. Maybe maybe there's something I can be doing differently. So typically when this happens, the reason that an in-person sales process kind of falls on its face when you first come out of the gate is because you didn't do anything up front to really set an expectation that this is what you're going to do, especially in the example that you used, Nate, where you said, I have this client coming in next week and I'm going to sell him stuff, and this gets to this idea of like, we like to talk about show it to sell it. I'm going to show it to sell it. I'm going to go grab, a bunch of samples. I'm going to put something like this up on the wall. And then now magically they're going to just want to buy it. And while you will absolutely see higher sales, just by starting to show physical products, even at the sales meeting, there's a much, much better way to do it because you're still, at the end of the day, springing something on them that they weren't expecting at the end. And that's typically what happens when somebody says like, hey, I'm gonna start doing in-person sales. I'm gonna start with this person whose session I shot last week. Well, it's like, yeah. So this is actually something we talked about the other day. Adrian and I were talking about it, and about this idea of like, hey, I have my first sales meeting tomorrow. What should I do? And I'm like, build a time machine. Because you need to go back and do a lot of stuff before that sales meeting tomorrow. So, so what kinds of stuff can we be doing? Really, we want to set expectations for what it is that, gosh, I can get deep into this, man.
We're not going to do your whole course right now. I love it. The whole system.
We want to set expectations for three main things. Everywhere someone sees our work, everywhere they touch our brand, we want them to know what product we want them to buy, the price that they're going to pay for those products, and the process that we're going to use to get those products in their hands. As long as we can set those expectations, especially the product one, because it's the most visual and it's the one that kind of bleeds over into the other ones as well. Because if they're seeing products everywhere, okay, so kind of imagine with me this. Somebody's looking at you as maybe as their portrait photographer, right? So they have your website up. In reality, they have a dozen other photographers in your market. They have their website up too. And they're looking and they're trying to figure out, okay, who do I like? They narrow it down to maybe 7 or 8 whose work they are happy with. They love it. So now, what's going to set you apart from those others? There's lots of things. I mean, there's literally an entire industry built on what's going to set you apart. But my little corner of the industry is you really need to be showing them what are they going to get from working with you. And
Mhm.
if they go to your website and the first thing they see is wall art galleries, and then they're interested, so they go to your blog, and every single blog post, every teaser post or something has a gallery designed for that post. And then they go to your Instagram and it's photos of products being delivered and clients seeing their wall art for the first time. And then they
Mhm.
go to your Facebook and they see, questions about like, hey, which one I'm designing a gallery for this latest client, which one do you like the most? That kind of stuff. So they're going to go to all of these different touch points, and that's what they're going to see, and they're not going to see files. Is there any chance that that client is going to come to you and then get to the sales meeting and say, oh, I thought I was just going to get the files? Like, no
Right.
one can ever assume that when everything they see is printed product. So that for
Totally.
me is like is the main one. Just beat them over the head with printed products everywhere they touch your brand. Anywhere they see your work, they need to see it on the product that you want them to buy.
And I love having the conversation from a place of like, how do you ease into this? Because I know some people like to
Yep.
rip the Band-Aid off and just dive in. Others,
Yeah, that's what we did.
um,
It hurt.
others can well, I need to be more methodical, or I'm afraid I'm going to
Yep.
alienate past clients. I think what what I want to, before we transition to that point, I want to wrap it up with like what I hear you saying is you need to show people what you sell. And if all you're showing
Yes.
is in all of your marketing is digital images, that it's very
It's
easy for
literally ones and
people.
zeros on a screen. Yeah.
Exactly. That's all. What we get so frustrated with that constant question. Let alone you were talking about the sales session, but let's just talk about that the question that burns out a lot of photographers saying, "What are your prices? Can I just get the digitals?" Some of
Yep.
those questions start to go away also when so much of your marketing is about how you create wall art with your
Absolutely.
clients. And you're showing not just beautiful imagery in your marketing and on your website, you're showing the wall art. I think there's two pieces of media that I think are the most valuable things that I see thriving photographers have in their marketing. Number one is it's either, I think video is great, but let's just stick with stills for a second. It's a still shot of behind the scenes of you with your clients smiling.
Yeah.
Like just it's social proof. Oh, this person does this. Like,
Yep.
look, they're doing it. I can see that they know what they're doing because those people are having fun. I can see myself. That looks like fun.
Yeah.
Like being in front of a camera, I've always hated it, but they're having fun. That's
Yeah.
sometimes a really hard picture to get, but incredibly valuable. The
Yeah.
next piece of media is your clients reacting to their pictures. You said it earlier, like
Yes.
that. When we see that on a website, oh my God, I want that. I want that, not just the thing that they're opening and they're looking at. I want that experience. I want
I
that
want that feeling.
feeling of
Yeah.
looking at my album and looking at these cool canvases or metal prints and go, oh my gosh, those two pieces of content I think are the most overlooked with rookie
Yep.
photographers, and it sets you apart because the
Yep.
the thriving photographers, this is what they're including in their marketing material. So,
Yeah.
like I said, some of that stuff is hard to create, but you help people not just in the sales session show what they sell, and there's a lot of really cool things you do to make the sales session even kind of fun, like a shopping spree instead of like a order session.
Right.
But you can use some of your tools to create mock-ups. Why would people want to use mock-ups in their marketing?
Yeah. So, I mean, this gets back to if you, that's a great segue, Nate. So, if you, he's like, I've done this before. Uh, if you have not done this, if you don't have an installation like this to take pictures of and show, but you want
Hmm.
to start showing products,
It's like all my
then
past clients,
that's the
all
next
of their
best way to
houses
do
are
it.
like, all their houses are really messy. Like it'd be great to have pictures of like your clients' houses, but what are the odds that you're going to get a good quality image, right? So
Right.
instead, you can do what?
Yeah, I mean, so you can use something like Swift Galleries where you would be able to show the clients what their photos look like on the wall at the right size. We have like 50 really great wall images that are
Yep.
all pre-calibrated, so they can show those to them. And so I think, this is a really important point because we hear this from a lot of new members who say, "Okay, so I'm supposed to start showing this stuff everywhere someone sees my work, but I haven't sold any of it yet." So it feels a little bit disingenuous to show mock-ups. People are like, well,
Oh,
it feels, like it feels like I'm saying I sold this. And so first of all, don't lie, period.
right,
But
right, right.
the important thing here, and this is, I guess, the distinction that I want to make, when you first start, this is less about what you have sold and more about what you believe the like perfect representation of your work is in physical form. It's what you believe someone should be buying from you. And when you look at it and come at it from that direction, don't ever be deceptive.
Right,
When you come
right.
at it from the direction though of like, this is what I think would be perfect for the images that I created. It
Hmm.
now allows you to continue being the artist, not just behind the camera, but through the design aspect as well, and say, look, I made these images, and this is what
Hmm.
I had in mind when I made them.
Yeah.
And that, when you come at it from that direction, then it takes that whole concern off the table. It's like, no, this is what I had in mind when I made these images. Look, here you go.
Hmm.
And
I
now
think
I'm just showing them to you.
at that stage, I think it's you just come from your own story, your own experience. And I think a lot of us as photographers can relate to, you know what, I've been passionate about photography for years. I love taking pictures of my family or whatever of special events. But I got tired of them sitting on my computer and not going anywhere. Like I had a hard drive crash and I lost a bunch of
Right.
amazing images or whatever it might be. And then I started printing, that is the piece. The bigger reason why I wanted to be a professional photographer is to help people not just like pause time and capture those great moments, but to archive them in a way that everybody
Yep.
can appreciate them on a daily basis. And
Yep.
so I started doing it for my own family. And now we have, and if you want to have pictures of your own house, great. If you don't, I think it might look silly of having just a bunch of pictures of your own family on walls. But
Right.
to your point, it's like an aspirational thing. It
Yep.
reminds me of the IKEA catalog. It's like what's a
Mm.
fantastically designed catalog, right? It makes you whatever thing is in that catalog, it makes you want it because
Right.
it's in this like aspirationally clean. Like, come on, guys, we all know that nobody's house is that
Right.
damn clean.
Nobody looks like that. Right.
Especially if we have kids. There's like all this like the play area with the kids play like crayons and stuff. Like, what? My kids' room has never been that clean. You got to be kidding me. But
Right.
it's aspirational thing where people go, okay, I aspire to have artwork like that in my home, and
Yeah,
that's what you can
absolutely.
help people show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
And then
cool. Go
when
ahead.
you layer on top of that just the technical, I guess, detail of like, look, this is the right size. Like now, not only am I getting them excited about wall art, but I'm really planting and sowing the seeds for a sale because I'm essentially showing them, it's kind of try it before you buy it.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
exactly what this is going to look like, and that's where it is beneficial to have a photo of their room when you're doing this with your actual clients, when you
Hmm.
can say like, look, this is exactly what this is going to look like on your wall,
Yeah,
period, full stop, and
that's huge.
that it just makes it so much easier to sell this stuff.
Hmm. And,
So
and
if you're watching and you're thinking, earlier we said that the average sale was $1,000, and you're like, mine is nowhere near that. How is that possible? That's how
mhm.
it's possible.
Yeah. It is, and I think what we want to really clarify is this isn't about convincing anybody to buy something they don't need or want,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
frankly all of that type of manipulation and tricks or whatever that none of that works anymore anyway. It
Yep.
maybe it used to, but nobody's doing it. Nobody's recommending you do it. It's all this is being a good teacher, which means being a good communicator And I have this drawing where I'll try to explain it to you real quick. So let's go back to our original analogy. We're comparing it to tomorrow I have a sales session.
Yep.
How much can you actually teach somebody about products? If you only have tomorrow, you're right, having some things to look at, like, hey, I know we didn't talk about this yet, but I wanted to give you a chance to see some upgrade options. No pressure. Yep. If you like some of this stuff, I can help you with it. Great, right? That's only going to it's going to give you a lift, but not much. But let's go back a couple times. Let's go back to the session, right? You are shooting, talking about, hey, you know what, this one's going to look great above your couch, or this is going to look great about while you're taking the picture, you're talking about the artwork you're creating together. Okay, so during the session, you're talking about it. That's going to move the needle, and it's going to help educate them. We go all the way to back to the beginning, to your website.
Yep.
When you're showing them, and you're attracting clients that go, oh, I guess, yeah. I'm looking at these different photographers.
I didn't know anybody did that anymore.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yep. And they're like, that's where you can really start to move the needle. And then each time, from the moment they hit your website to how are you delivering pricing information, to are you having a pre-session consult, to what you're talking about on the session, and then finally the sales session. And that is how people are getting the numbers like you talked about today.
Yeah,
really cool
absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's no manipulation here. It's all about attracting the right people from the start and then building their excitement throughout the process, and making sure that every expectation has been set and reinforced throughout the process. And then what happens is you get to the sales meeting and it's not a sales meeting anymore. It's, remember that stuff you saw on my website? Then we talked about it during the planning meeting. We figured out exactly what you wanted. And then I did that dumb little dance during your session when I got the shot for the spot over the couch. Well, here it is. What else do you want? I mean, that's really all the sales meeting is here's everything that we already talked about, but I noticed you also love these 10 other images. What else can we get you today? Yeah. And that's how you get these kinds of sales. It's so not about springing, hard, high pressure sales. I suck at that. Like I would never have been good at that. I like people too much to even like to sleep. Do that. So,
you like sleep. You like sleeping easy at night too.
I do. Yeah, I do.
So. This has been fun. You and I both get pretty riled up every time we talk about it. So let's talk about where people can go to learn more. I know you're up to a lot of fun things. Right from the beginning, I love working with you because I think we share a similar value that software all by itself is one thing, but software combined with training, community, members, all of that is really what makes the difference. So what's the latest? Where should people go to learn more about the Printmaker system?
Well, that's where you should go. Go over to theprintmakersystem.com. Okay. We've got a ton of free resources over there. I actually just pushed out something like 2 or 3 days ago that's a wall art gallery inspiration page. So it's just it's a bunch of our members submitted their own designs. You can get on there if you're like, oh, this sounds really interesting, but how do I even, I don't even know what to design. This thing's got, I think there's about 100 on there so far, that you can
so cool.
by number of products, by room style, all of that stuff. So anyway, there's a ton of stuff over there. Like you said, I love to teach. I think that's really primarily my job, is to teach. And so going over to theprintmakersystem.com.
We'll put the link in the comments below. Yeah, go check it out. Cool. Chris, this has been so great. Trying to think if there's anything else last minute to squeeze in. Any other advice for somebody? Let's speak to the person who's already been doing in-person sales for a while. You can have the last word. I'm going to share one thing. For those of you using Sticky already, one of the most underutilized and most powerful templates in Sticky Folios is the online pricing guide. Instead of delivering a PDF that gets outdated, that's hard to read on a phone, that's slow and people don't read anyway, you can still use that, because so many of those beautiful PDFs were designed to be printed and given to somebody in person. But instead, you create a very simple one-page online pricing guide as an introduction. So when somebody first comes to your site and they ask for your pricing, you can send them this simple website. It's called the online pricing guide. So I'll put a link in the show notes too about where to learn more about that tactic and that template. But people are getting huge when you can more eloquently show off what you do and the experiences you create. Not only does it help you book more clients, it also helps increase your sales, and and it attracts the right types of clients too. And when you can talk confidently about the products and that whole thing, people go, "Oh yeah, I trust this person. I want to hire this person." And you turn more of those inquiries into bookings. Okay, you get the last word. What other last minute tip for the experienced photographer should we end with?
Yeah, I think if you're not doing planning meetings, like pre-session consultations, I think that they are the thing that will lift your sales the most. They allow you to really craft the experience around each and every client by asking specific questions about, like, where are we going to be putting your artwork? What do those spaces look like? And then really coming up with specific suggestions for them based on their space, based on their needs, so that you're not overwhelming them with a full price list with this whole menu of here's what my 5x7 costs of an acrylic that wouldn't look good in your space anyway. Instead, I can say, okay, based on what I know about your space, I think we should be looking at canvases or framed and matted prints. That kind of thing. And then, so if you're not already doing that, then I think that you need to be doing that. And what I love about everything we talked about today, setting expectations on your website, blog, social media for pricing, product, and process, all of those things, and the planning meeting where you're really crafting these experiences. You can do this no matter how you sell your work on the back end. If you shoot and burn, okay, fine. You can still be selling products if you do some of these things up front. If you sell online, you're going to see a spike in your product sales by doing these things up front. If you're just getting into in-person sales, this is a really good way to get comfortable talking about products in front of clients. And then what you'll find is if you're like, okay, I'm going to just add the planning meeting in, and I'm not going to do the sales meeting, you're going to get to the end and you are going to feel unfulfilled. You're going to be like, well, I did all this work. Now I want to do this sales meeting with them. So planning meetings, I think, setting expectations up front and planning meetings up front, if you add these things, no matter how you sell your work, you will see much higher sales. So those are the two.
That's a really good one. It requires you to start thinking of yourself as more than just a photographer, but you're a trusted advisor. Right, you are helping, almost like coming like an interior designer. Like your job is to help learn what matters most to this family, to whatever niche you're shooting for. What do they care about beyond the picture? Because I think you have to start with, well, what did you envision doing with the portraits? Did you want albums? Do you want wall art? Because and you just come from this passion of, yes, I love taking the picture, but I've really made it my passion to help more of my customers celebrate the work they have and enjoy the work they have on a daily basis, so that they can also pass down the work for generations to come. And giving people just the digitals for their phone is great, but we don't know what's going to be on people's phones in 5 years, where we know some of these other things will last for generations. Okay. This has been amazing. You rock. Thank you so much for kind of opening the books for me. It was really fun to learn some of those specific numbers. Guys, go check out theprintmakersystem.com, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Cheers.